Summer Shamir is a monster and Winter Marth is relevant. We're going to talk about all of that, and at the end I'm going to wrap it up with an archetype review of all the different things going on in all the modes. Let's get into this because this is a lot of fun. First up, we have Light Season, which I wanted to talk about the Hex Trap quick. And you're seeing my very favorite unit, this Flame Peony here that is just amazing. And you'll notice that HP is over 65. This is happening more and more where, particularly outside of Chaos Season, we're just not seeing the same effect out of these Hex Traps. And the thing that really put an exclamation point on it was the new BS seal, which has the HP, attack, and speed. It has amazing value, and I mean, Summoners, you're seeing this Tana just waltz through. It is nuts, and if you're still using these, I would lean towards other traps, particularly the Gravity and the Lightning Trap. I just think they work better, and you're going to see more and more of units as the stats keep growing, and yeah, they're going to have HP this high. So let's move on from here. Away from my lovely, lovely peony. And we'll talk about this thing. I have worked with a ton of these flyer lines, and I am just not a believer. I had a lot of hope. You saw the headline when Hanoko was out. I thought these were going to be a thing. I think they work very well. You'll see one in a bit here. They work very well in conjunction or as a piece of a cav line, but flyers alone, the problem is you've got one single lane that each unit can do. And what happens there is the team can pick and choose their matchups. And that's terrible. The whole point of a cav line is to keep them from doing that. You want to have no room for them to run and have multiple threats being able to hit different squares. So that's one of the reasons we use Pathfinder so much in these, and you're not able to do that with this style of defense. So I'm not a huge fan. I would skip this archetype for right now until we get something different. I don't know. We'll see. But I wanted to talk about Vantage next. I have Camilla up here because I love Camilla, but understand that this is just Vantage in general. And this is not to say this got stronger or weaker or anything like that. The big thing is folks are just concerned about other things right now. They're concerned about omnitanks and far saviors in the form of Tiki 2. So understand that because of that, they have really neglected their Hardy Bearing Seal, and you get things like this. Well, kind of like this. I should have put Cam one space up, but anyway, mistakes were made, things were fine. You can see no one here can counter Cam. It is, it's a free win. This is not going to be a team that you can use on every map, and that's why I don't have this strategy going sky high. There will always be different styles of counters for this. I mean, for one thing, we've seen the healers just go crazy. But on the maps that it does counter, it is not only satisfying, but makes things very easy, and just have one of these on your team. I've been saying this for at least a year. Trust me, make a Vantage team, you will not be sorry. Next up, we have, okay, so like I said, I don't have the new no follow-up skills. I wish I did, but they just didn't come home, and my priority there was Aether, and I stand by that. Love that unit. But I want to show you an example of what happens when you don't have these. Now, this also has guard on Shamir and a number of other things that, to be frank, this player did very well. But with full no follow-up, and you can see it there with Dogger, Dimitri does not get this at all. Also, I need Wings of Mercy 4 on Yoon. If only I could get like 7 copies of that. Anyway, the point here being, these are very good skills and they help you a ton. Particularly, and I'll talk about it a little more later, but Shez with physical null follow is amazing. These are great versus omnitanks, and they're great versus saviors, and I really slept on those skills when they came out. They deserve the up here, and in particular, just full null follow-up in general, which is, particularly on defensive nukes, is just not everywhere right this second. Also, yes, I recognize that I would never be able to put that on, on Shamir. But again, this is just making a point where a unit with no follow-up here would have just absolutely creamed Dimitri. But hey, he's the king of omnitanks. What am I supposed to do? Next up, we have Shamir, who I absolutely love. This unit is absolutely nuts. I've bumped her up into meta tier. I think the combination of support that she provides for the rest of her team and just the absolute killing power of her combined with Brash Assault is staggering. I don't know what else to say. It's not to say she can kill every unit. Young Hector, for instance, just brick walls her. But she kills a lot of god swords, and they're so popular right now. This is a very anti-meta unit. I think this unit will have staying power just because of how much they've doubled down on god swords, but she still is anti-meta, so keep that in mind. This is a unit that you probably want at +1 and not at +10. So next we need to touch on Lucia, who I think has lost value. A lot of that is because units like Shamir, who, again, this is a new unit, she gets more speed than Lucia, and Lucia has trouble getting speed from sources, especially when they are not in Earth Season. She really loves to have Robin at her side. This is a great example where this player put Lucia right below the infantry school. So it's -11. That is that is bold. So there are ways to get around this unit now, and she is not quite the easy button that she used to be. She's still a very good unit, don't get me wrong. I think she's probably the best tank in the game, but we're starting to see little chinks in the armor, which I think is good. I think we needed some sort of counter for this. The next thing I wanted to talk about, now this is a combination of the new Null Sea Disrupt skill and the prevalence of Elise, who really was on almost every defense at the top level that I could find for a long time. And I think with Null Counter Disrupt 4, that will start to get curbed, even though that is on a unit that's hard to get. But you're looking here at this Byleth, who combined with that Null Sea Counter Disrupt 4 is really bonkers. She is already bonkers here. but yeah. So she's going to have about the same problem as Lucia does with speed, but that is every Omni tank, period. They're very, very dependent on speed. So, I mean, what do? It's why, for the most part with tanks, you don't want to +10 them. You want them at +1, you'll use them, and then they'll expire, and then you'll move along. But the fact that this is coming out, I think means that we are going to get more things to counter all of the amazing staff units that we've gotten. It's kind of the thing they do. Like, they put out a whole bunch of god swords, and then they put out and then they put out healers to stop them. And then they give NCD to the Omni tanks. And then you can see the back and forth here. And then suddenly you get Shamir that stops them regardless. And yeah. Speaking of Shamir and this crazy, crazy dance. Whew. I mean, I talked about her in the other one. This unit is absolutely bonkers. I like this in combination with Hinoka. We talked about the combination of having Hinoka with the Wings of Mercy 4 and covering a lane with a unit like Shamir. And survivable nukes are a big thing right now. For the most part, I like this. I think this is really fun. This is a strategy that has been used forever. If you think back to Instabow on Python, where he basically had the impact effect that kept doubles from happening. What it boils down to is a cav that comes in, smacks you, gets smacked enough to bonk into Wings of Mercy range, and then, shenanigans happen. And Wings of Mercy 4 allows that threshold to be higher than it used to be, and Shamir is very good at surviving things. There are a lot of ways that, it's absolutely fantastic stuff. I'm a huge Shamir fan. I've said it. She is a premier nuke, and if you can get a copy of her, you should. She'll be coming back around soon. Actually, she's still out. What am I saying? But anyway, let's move on to what I really want to talk about. I keep talking about saves and how they've kind of fallen off. The exception, and I don't really have this unit moving up. What I really want to say here is this unit just has stayed in one place. Like, I think that Tiki is good. I think that she has stayed good. I think other saviors have kind of dropped off, and we'll talk about that more in a bit. But for now, I think the brand new saviors are excellent, and the brand new refines are also excellent. So let's talk about Arena. I just was struck by Xander and the fact that this unit has really fallen off. Someone made the joke that when was Xander on. But honestly, in Arena, this unit was really good and can still perform a role. But I mean, you're seeing it right there. Like, I couldn't kill Asker, and I couldn't kill Crom either. This unit just didn't have it in them. And then I just got absolutely smacked. But I think this also speaks to plus 10 legendaries. And keep in mind, this year's legendaries, this gen, has been amazing versus last gen. I really like the fact that we've talked about it before, but this gen has really focused on player phase nukes and has kind of created a balance that way. And I think that's a good thing. I would not plus 10 any new legendaries, with maybe the exception of Robin, or if they're your favorite. If they're your favorite, go therefore and conquer. I think the method of picking up a Forma with the new skills and then merging up that way is just flat out a better way to go. Speaking of, let's talk about Julia. And this is actually my out-of-date Julia that I used in the Holoforms Julia video. So I apologize for that. It still showcases how good she is, though. Just as a nuke, she does very well, and as she does at kind of a mixed phase role, but that's not really why I have her up here. I'm not going to tell you guys that Julia has risen in value and is the new amazing unit. This is more about Formas, and we just talked about it, but the ability to get all new skills on Formas is just kind of amazing. It does a whole lot of good for the unit, and particularly for infantry units. There are so many amazing skills. We went back and forth in the comments about this unit and whether it was worth it because you were going to keep her B skill and her preference weapon. And I still say yes, definitely worth it. The finish skill on her is absolutely amazing, and Panic Smoke or Times Pulse or whatever you ended up getting is also very, very good. This unit is still not like peak of the meta, but for the value you get out of a Forma, I am a huge fan of what we're seeing. So we'll see how they go. And keep in mind, we have speculated that we could possibly get Leaf next month and possibly Roy next month and possibly Hector. But understand that that's not confirmed. We don't know that they're going to keep giving us these units. So just keep that in mind as we move forward. Keep an eye on that. The last unit I want to talk about is Guinevere, and I just got to play with her today. Like, this is fresh off the presses, and what can I say? I like this unit a lot, but I mean, is that a surprise? Like, this mage tank, kind of like Spring Sharena. But here's the thing. This unit is Celine, but a lot better. And I think Celine is grossly underrated. This unit has a lot of the same things. This unit is an underrated nuke, an underrated tank, and a great support unit. All of that together means as a bonus unit, this unit is really good. I am still playing with this unit in Aether raids, and I will get back to you. So far I've got kind of a mixed thing. Like, I'm kind of seeing her as a lesser Gateau, which is a really, and now I'm very high on Gateau, so keep that in mind. But it's still a really interesting thing to say. But as a support unit, if you are already using Selene and you want to, in water season, put this unit in instead, I think this unit will do very well for you. I missed it as passing through. I tanked quite a few melee threats with this unit, and she was a lot of fun. Don't try to tank Ninja Leg Yarn. I did that my first time up. I was like, oh, what the heck? I'll just throw her out there. No. Just don't do it. It's Summoner Duels time. I am low on Seliph right now. I'm not. Okay, so this started in the comment section of the last video we had with Shez on it, the new Shez. And I still had Seliph way high, and a commenter, and I apologize, I do not remember your name, came out and said, what are you doing? This unit does not belong in meta tier. And I bristled a little bit at that. I was like, what do you mean? Brave Seliph is the most amazing. I started really digging back into it and kind of looking into the different melee nukes. Honestly, this unit, because of speed creep, has fallen off quite a bit. You're seeing, what you're seeing here is a Cav team without him that I think performed so much better than my past ones that I've had with him in it. And that includes the AoE Seliph, which I know folks use and are very good with. I mean, you got Kerhoe, who is just amazing with Seliph in all forms, but he's a very good player. Seliph is no longer just a no-brainer, so keep that in mind. And Caplines in general, we'll talk about that. Next, I want to talk about Myr, who I'm really enjoying Myr right now, just because, again, we've talked a little bit about anti-meta units, and is there a more anti-meta unit in Summoner Duels S than Myr? I don't even know what, that's all you can say. Like, she is good. She is not SDR good, but understand that the things that we do right now revolve so heavily around warp that she absolutely stymies a lot of teams. And you could build her up with enough bulk that she can tank a lot of the Cavs. Not Summer Carla, or Spring Carla. But the others, definitely you have that ability. Crom is a wash, and you can tank Seliph pretty easily. So, Summoners, I'm a fan of this unit. I am a bigger fan of Aether in this configuration, and I missed it just a second ago. She absolutely smacked Ithune ×4. This unit has a place in this meta as a Catria Ball earth rendering team player. She's very good at kind of holding back and being that extra nuke, as well as that extra piece of stall that also gives buffs. And I mean, if you get to turn 3, you get some really incredible things along with it. Summoners, I'm a big fan of this unit, and I did not expect to enjoy her so much in Summoner Duels S as I have. I should have mentioned this at the top of this, but this is a Summoner Duels S rankings. I'm going to start breaking these out into Summoner Duels S and Summoner Duels R. It's kind of overdue. The meta for those two is just very different. You're probably not going to use Aether and Myr, probably even Seliph in SDR right now. So, moving on. Speaking of fun things, I want to talk about Celica, and in particular, with all the new skills we're getting, there are definitely some overlooked units, and I think Celica is one of them. The Desperation and the Piercing is just really phenomenal, and Summoners, this is a unit that will really do well for you. I did not see it coming. Adara was the one who told me about this, and I didn't believe her, and here I am using her team that I built up was absolutely my favorite. Just really a great unit, and in the same vein as Alm, but with the miracle build that I'm showing here, has extra shenanigans. And there was a whole short I had over this unit actually tanking Brave Seliph, which goes back to the whole speed creep thing and all of that. But yeah, it was phenomenal. You should go check that out if you haven't seen it. But Summoners, this is a great unit that you should be looking at. The one you're seeing is +5, I think. The one Adara was using was +0, and still very, very effective. But no unit surprised me more than this one here, Winter Marth. Okay, this is a very specific combination, and I saw this on one of the tier lists for SD, and I had to have it explained to me, to be completely honest. But with Maria and that extra life, and with Robin and that the grand strategy effect, and also with the Unity skill. Unity is the only thing that you really have to have on Marth, I guess, along with the Far Save. But Summoners, this unit absolutely is bonkers. You're seeing the combination of the Vantage effect where they can't attack into it, and also the ability to attack things with this unit. Right now he's going up against Lucina and just absolutely smacking her. Here in just a second, we're coming up to the point where I want to see, which is Air coming around the corner, and they're basically at this point, they're just, yeah, they're giving up. But check that out. Like, Marth is good. Again, we're talking about in the terms of Summoner Duels S, but still, this is a unit worth building. Mask is an excellent player, but doesn't have a whole lot of merges. And I mean, like I said, this unit had Far Save, and the Unity skill is critical, along with a Refine. But that's not very expensive, and you get a lot of mileage out of that unit. Yeah. I forgot to mention earlier, the Mer team that I was working with was actually a design of Mask as well. I always love his designs. They're always very creative, and really enjoy looking at his stuff. So we had no Chaos Season, and SDR hasn't hit at the time of this recording, so I wanted to go over just different archetypes and what's going on. And we talked about this a little bit before, but what we are seeing is a lot of new nukes coming out, and basically those are going up against either cookie cutter god swords, and we've just gotten so many that it's basically how much speed can you stack. If it's a lot, then you're good, and if it's not, you're bad. And I mean a lot. But you compare those with the creative nukes we've gotten, like, well, Maria, who also helps with the extra life thing. You've got Shamir, you've got Elise, you've got Shez. Going back, you can probably point to just about every legendary and say that one's a really good nuke. But we haven't gotten the same, in the arms race, I really do feel like the defenses are winning. For Catria Balls, particularly, I want to talk about just looking at the null follow-up skills and how good they've been, and that is a huge boon. Just reducing just being able to pierce is a big deal. Having that not tied to a special is an even bigger deal. That is a huge boon for Catria Balls, and that is what makes Legendary Shez bump up in the ranks. It's big. So we've got a whole bunch of stuff for Catria Balls, for Cav lines. We have less for omnitanks. Really, Null Counter Disrupt is very good, and maybe I should have bumped them up, but I think in general, like, the scoreboard says that they are going just a bit down. I do think save balls have climbed down more. There are more and more skills that make it easier to attack into them. The sabotage skills, for example, and then Discord that Shamir has, and they're getting harder and harder to run, with some exceptions, and we've seen some, but just in general, I think save balls have become not your main team. This is, of course, at the high levels, and the lower you go, the more varied things get, which can be harder in and of itself, but just understand that. The next thing I really wanted to talk about was just player phase strategies in general, and I was already very low on Hit and Run, and then Hinoka came out. And the thing with Hinoka is she's amazing at Hit and Run because she actually has the power to punch through some of these units. And I say that as she attacks into Tiki and just tings. Well, not a ting. It takes her 2 rounds, though, which is a lot, but Still, the fact that you're able to get everyone out because of the fence and then go back in the next turn is kind of big. This is also Tiki's bonus season, and that would not be the case on a non-Tiki bonus season. Still, I think this is a very good hit and run unit, and it's why they've gone up just a little bit. Yeah. If I'm ranking best strategies right now, understand that hit and run is probably the lowest just because Guidance 4 makes it so hard. There are so many ways that you can pursue. But again, I think this is a good start, and maybe we'll start seeing these teams rebound. Keep in mind, I use 2 different hit and run teams, one with Hinoka and one that I showed you on the top of this video with Peony, with Flame Peony. So yeah. As far as Gale Force clears go, Summoners, I've got them staying neutral, and I thought about lowering them down just simply because, well, Maria came along and she made things harder for them, but I still think they were already difficult strategies to run that definitely took some cerebral things, sometimes non-cerebral things like bolt towers. But in general, I think they are still very powerful strategies, and I don't think the power level has changed just because of Maria, especially because you can do things like have feud, or you can have, there are ways to get around Maria. So I think Gale Force is holding steady. Overall, though, I think defense has gone up, offense has gone mostly down, with hit and run being the exception and Gale Force staying steady. All right, so I've got my 3 different archetypes here: the Quick Stripe Cavs, the Warp teams, and then the Raid Boss teams. And I have got to say that Cavs in general, I have the same thing that I do every season. Every season, I see someone do something really neat with Cavs, and I'm like, I'm going to do that. It's going to be amazing. I love that. That's so much fun. And as the 2-week period progresses, that gets less and less powerful because it's a gimmick. And the more people see it, the easier it is to conquer. Summoners, and you're seeing one right here, and this one got absolutely walloped because I didn't have Hardy Bearing, and that was something that just hard countered it. And of course you can say that, well, you should have had Hardy Bearing on some unit or some kind of way to have counter disrupt. But Summoners, there's always something. The consistency of these strategies is just not there, and I'm probably putting them pretty low on my list. I'll probably still build one every SDS season just because I run out of units otherwise. But in general, I think their value is probably at the lowest it's been for a bit. There just haven't been a whole lot of things we've gotten for them. Like I said with Seliph, there's still players that use Cavs very well. Kerhoe does. Patrick, I'll see if I can leave links to both of those guys in there. Patrick in particular just put out a fantastic video on his SD run, which I really enjoyed, and he uses Miracle Nerþuz, which I think is hilarious. But in general, I think the value of these teams as an archetype has dropped. You compare that to Warp teams, and what can I say? I mean, they have just gotten so many toys. Guard Bearing 4, Guidance 4, we've got so many infantry skills that are amazing, so many amazing infantries. You combine all of those together and you just get a ridiculous team. In this one in particular, you throw in Hinoka and you have cooldown reduction, as well as a little bit more gas with Hinoka getting the extra range from charge. Summoners, what can I say? I think these units are the most stable, the easiest to use, and if you are a Summoner Duels fan, you should have both Catria and you should have both Cordelia, and you need to have them with Guidance 4. There are very few skills that are must-haves, and in Summoner Duels, Guidance 4 is one of them. No kidding, those skills will make your runs easier. As far as raid bosses, we didn't see a whole lot of them this round, just because this round was so flyer and Ketria ball heavy just in general. But still, I think we had a whole bunch of big things that we gave them, right? Altina's Refine and Elowood's Refine were huge for them, huge. Now we got a second Elowood that you can use, so you can build multiple raid boss teams. So in general, I think they're staying about neutral. I think you could probably build an Altina team in SDS every single time. I think in SDR it's possible, and it's possible to use her as a component as well. But I see fewer successful raid boss teams in SDR. Good players, highly invested players can get that done. That's ultimately, I have them kind of coming out the wash, and they haven't risen or fallen. It's still a good strategy, but not something that has gotten a whole lot of extra things recently. I'm curious if we'll get an extra thing for these Pathfinder Cav teams, because it just feels like they need something. And maybe that comes in the form of the Refines or possibly the new CYL heroes. The last thing I need to talk about is different investments you can have. And I said I missed out on this physical null follow-up, but this build with Shez is amazing. I fear this build so much. It's a lot of fun on ARD and in Summoner Duels, and yeah, if you've got the fodder for that, I think that is a good investment. I've got Shamir here, and for some reason I got a wild hair and just decided to put lull speed defense 4 on her. I really want to keep Brash Assault 4. It just synergizes so well with her kit and gives her so much more stopping power. That Ice Mirror effect is phenomenal, and the only thing you really want to change out, I don't see the point in having the Fatal Smoke. I like Panic Smoke 4. It's probably what I'll be giving mine. There are a lot of other skills you can give her there, just whatever you see fit. But yeah, I'm a huge fan of this unit, and the fact that you can get her and just use her straight out of the box is very nice. The last one there is Marth, and again, for some reason, I just decided to go all out and armored beacon and attack speed far save. Understand that the build we were looking at for that mask video, that mask replay, was his refine, his preference special, attack speed unity, and attack res far save. And that was a +0. And Marth was doing that well. So keep in mind, you don't just need to dump skills on this unit. This unit is very good with minimal investment, with probably the hardest thing to get there, the attack speed unity. But that's on a few units now. All right, we'll wrap things up there. Summoners, there are some big things coming down the way. We've got Refines have hit by the time this releases, and we'll talk more about Crom and Bramamon next time. We've got Summer Heroes Part 2, which we will definitely talk about on the next meta report. I cannot wait. We've got CYL coming up very soon. I am really excited. This is a fun time in FE, and I hope you guys are all looking forward to it. Thank you so much to the members. I appreciate all of your help, and you allow me to do a lot of things. We've had a lot of fun posts back and forth recently, just with different stuff that's going on in the channel. And just so you guys know, I'm planning soon to have another units review. I'll keep you up to date on that, but in the meantime, take care and schedule an appointment with your FEHologist real soon.